It's car con carne. Let's eat in the car. It's car con carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
This is Car Con Carne. It's a Q101 podcast. I'm James Van Alstyne. This is episode 1001, and Car Con Carne is presented by Easy Automation. Safety and security are things that you and I want, need, and expect. What if you knew that you could always come home to a well-lighted house knowing that you and everyone inside were safe, or that that package you ordered was delivered and secured? Maybe that package was the new Pravda Records release from Chris Greene, and you want to make sure that that vinyl arrived safely. Embrace the future with smart living. Empower your home with intuitive control. Call my guy Dan at Easy Automation, and he'll tell you how easy it is to turn your home into a smart home. Get a free no-hassle quote. Call Dan at 630-730-3728, or just visit easy-automation.net. So Chris Greene is one of Chicago's A-list sax players, and his band, Chris Greene Quartet, just put out their first album in 7 years, Conversance. It's also the first ever jazz release for the long-running and much beloved local indie label Pravda Records. So much to talk about here. We're at Prairie Moon in Evanston, 1635 Chicago Avenue in Evanston. In the back seat is Rob Strom. He is the owner of Prairie Moon. Chris Greene is to my right. We have food. We have lots to talk about. Let's start with the food, because I know, Rob, we've been sitting on this food for a while. We got to eat it while it's hot, right?
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
All right. What did you bring?
Well, we needed some finger stuff. We don't normally focus on a whole lot of fried foods, but we have those tonight. So we have a blue ribbon chicken tender done with a comeback sauce. So that's our buttermilk fried chicken tenders with comeback sauce it kind of started in Alabama. It's just a dipping sauce, kind of a zippy, tangy thing. And then we've got some of our Mississippi catfish nuggets. So there's a fresh catfish cut up, fried in cornmeal, and then served with a Creole mustard sauce.
Yes.
I've got a coco panko shrimp with a mango dipping sauce. So that's going to be, coconut and panko breading on that. And then just some of our fresh cut fries.
Oh, yes, please.
I may never leave this car.
Right. You're welcome to hang out.
I might go right back in after the interview. This is
all right. So let's get some food circulating, because those descriptions alone were enough for me. So we were hanging out, waiting for just everything to get ready. We're sitting at the bar at Prairie Moon.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Rob, tell the story of the bar, because it is the coolest. Like, just the vibe, the warmth of the bar, I think really makes Prairie Moon kind of exceptional.
I appreciate that. When we started building the place in 2001, and we were looking for an old bar. A lot of the stuff that's down there has been salvaged, and so we looked at Salvage One and architectural artifacts in the city, and what we ended up with was a guy who was doing our HVAC was also helping out another client around Bridgeport, and that. But you want some more?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And that family had owned this bar since 1921. The bar that's down there right now in Prairie Moon was built in 1941. They closed it in 1971, and we got it in 2001. They lived upstairs, and then they had to turn it into something money-making downstairs, so it became a beauty salon. So we pulled the bar out, and we told the family we'd keep the name on the top of it. So that's why it's called McCormick's Bar down there. So
I love it. I love that old school bar feel. It's just awesome. Now we have food in the front seat. Chris, you just looked at me and gave me an approving nod.
It was more like kind of an orgasmic nod. I'm trying not to make too much of a fool of myself.
Look at that shrimp. You already give it a little lemon squeeze. Okay,
I gave it a lemon squeeze.
All right, we have the nuggets up here too.
Oh, you got the nuggets? Good.
I guess we should share it before I eat all the shrimp. I should probably give you some of this before I eat all this.
You're a guest in the car.
Yeah,
I want you to be
happy. I
happy.
want some of those nuggets, though.
The smell. Oh my God. Can we?
Black man, I need
Here,
I need the chicken.
Stop.
Okay, I got the chicken.
Stereotypes be damned. This looks fantastic. Thank you, sir.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to eat all the shrimp. We should probably trade because I don't want to eat all the shrimp.
Certainly can.
Because this is really good. The shrimp is outstanding.
The
but
breading is fantastic.
You got to have some of this.
Oh my Lord. Well, this is great. And yeah, to be fair, the menu at Prairie Moon, it's not a fried food menu. I mean, let's talk a little bit about what you have, like cedar plank salmon and chimichurri steak. Like, you've got a pretty robust menu going on here.
Yeah, I mean, we started out, and we still are, regional American cookery is kind of my thing. I went to the culinary school here in Evanston, Kendall. And then after that, before that, I had worked with Davis Street Fish Market. And then we built numerous places after that. There was Tommy Evans Pub, Merle's Number One Barbecue, Pete Miller's Steakhouse. And then in that, there were a lot of food travels and a lot of United States things. We did a really great job with our Cajun Creole menu at Davis Street, so that continues. And so it was really just kind of a love letter to these ports of entry, these culinary hotspots in the United States. And we do a lot of fresh fish. We do a lot of fish. We do a lot of seafood. It's kind of our thing. We have raw oysters every day. We have a raw bar, and
I love oysters.
Yeah.
Do you still have that? When I used to get this all the time, the old location. Do you still have the Pico de Gallo veggie burger?
Yeah, we sure do.
Yeah.
The Pico Pepper Jack.
Oh
Moon.
man, I used to eat that. Like I'm not even a vegetarian at all, but something about a really well made veggie burger. I used to get that all the time.
Oh, thank you.
So
yeah.
I got to get that again.
We're going to make these catfish nuggets go away. These are so good.
Oh god.
Oh, that's
Do you have
awesome.
the shrimp yet? I want another one. This one. Otherwise, I'll eat them all.
The catfish nuggets, and if you dip them, oh my.
Yeah, don't forget there's the chicken back here too. I'm gonna
I forgot.
try one of them. See what's up.
Yeah.
All right, I got to have one more catfish nugget, then I'm going to hand these over to Chris because, oh my God.
Oh boy, I'll have them.
Oh, you dude.
I'll take them. I'll take them.
And that is fresh tasting fish in that deep fried batter.
Delicious.
Yeah, we try to keep the batter as light as possible.
Wow.
No, definitely not heavy. You don't feel like real weighed down or anything.
So we're in Evanston. Prairie Moon used to be a little bit further south of here. Moved to this location, kind of on the edge of the northwestern campus, 1635 Chicago Avenue. Moved here in 2018. Let's talk a little bit about the community, because any independent restaurant success, and you've been in this for a long time, really depends on it being ingrained in the community. So talk a little bit about Evanston and Prairie Moon.
Well, I think the original idea behind it was that we're here in our hometown. I grew up in Evanston. I've been here pretty much my whole life. I spent a little time on the East Coast and so on. So when I had a couple restaurant jobs before this, but when we came here and I started with Davis Street, the Evanston community was starving we were a food desert, a complete food desert back in the mid 80s. And so when we opened, it was like everybody just adored us, and so that kind of started the restaurant community in Evanston. And then the support that has been given by the locals ever since then has just been, and they follow the stories. They listen to what's written, and what's spoken about the restaurants, and they're very loyal. And as long as I feel as long as you're an independent, we're pretty much a home for an independence here. So yeah.
Well, Davis Street to me, it was always like the quintessential date night spot.
Yeah.
For dinner. Chris is an Evanston guy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I used to go. Actually, when my wife, we did the long distance thing for a while, and so we lived in the city for a minute, and then we kept. My mother still lives here, and we kept coming back to visit my mother, and we would always end up going to see a movie here or going to get something to eat here. So after a while, we were just like, why are we fooling around? Let's just move back here. So we ended up. So one of our frequent spots was we would always go to Pete Miller's. We would always go to the Davis Street Fish Market, and the old location and the updated location. So yeah, we would always go there to eat. That was one of our prime date night spots.
You won the Mayor's Award for the Arts from the Evanston Arts Council.
I did.
No small achievement there.
It was pretty trippy. I got a call from the mayor, from Daniel Biss, the actual mayor. I was driving home from a rehearsal on a really rainy day, and I was struggling to see, out of the front window. And so it's like, I get this call, like, hello. It's like, hello, this is Daniel Biss. I'm like, who? I'm like, who? It's like, Daniel Biss, the mayor. Oh, hey, how you doing? I'm sorry.
That Daniel Biss.
I didn't mean to be rude. I apologize. And he's like, hey, just want to let you know you won the award and everything. So it was a really, really nice thing. Just, voted by people in the community, and, somebody's paying attention to what I do. So it was cool. It was really cool.
Did you get a key to the city as well?
I did not get a key. I got a hug, and I got a plaque and a hug from the mayor, and just a really nice. It was I won, and the Kendall Native American Museum won as well, which is funny because I used to go there on field trips as a kid all the time.
Like on Central, right?
Yep,
yeah.
Exactly. So it was kind of a sort of a full circle moment there.
So again, Prairie Moon, it is here on Chicago Avenue, 1635. Love the look and feel. What a cool place to hang. Obviously, jazz is a part of the culture here. As we're talking about Chris's music, as we're talking about music, you're a jazz supporter.
Yeah.
You're a music fan.
Absolutely. I grew up in a very musical household. My father played clarinet, but none of the kids played a lot of instruments, at least that well. My beautiful voices, though, in my family. The way I grew up listening to to jazz, mostly bop. Lying down on the living room floor with my dad and listening to Kind of Blue or whatever else would come up. And so I was always
that's like the gateway drug for everyone.
Yeah,
It was for me.
Yeah,
it absolutely was for me.
Yeah. Anyway, so long story short, we did some live music at Pete Miller's back in the day, and when we were coming out of the pandemic, we really felt the need to bring some live music in. Like, we felt, let's give people a reason to go back out. Everyone's just a little worried, a little scared. And so that's really when we started the jazz program here. And so it's every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. And some of the best players in Chicago, play here. And it's through Fulton Arts Collective. They do the booking there. It's been a tremendous support, and it's been a joy.
And as a jazz fan, we were talking before we started recording. You heard the new Chris Greene album.
Yes. Played it in the restaurant.
You played it in the restaurant,
yeah.
and they're still there, which is good.
That's good.
Their license hasn't been pulled.
There you go.
It's still standing. But yeah, you agree. It's awesome.
No, it's a great feel. It's a really hip vibe. I love it. It's you feel some contemporary things going on, but definitely the roots and bop, and for sure, I love it. I thought it was great.
Tyou thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Let's talk a little bit about the album. Let's bring more food up since you have it back there.
Here's that chicken.
Oh, yeah.
Those catfish nuggets.
Oh my God! Yeah, well, they're gone now. Yeah. Wait a minute. Yep. Oh no, they're about to be gone. Hold on. Now they're gone.
All right, what are we looking at here?
These are tenders. So they became.
These are not your typical tenders.
No, these are. We use Harrison's Poultry Farm.
I go to Harrison's all the time.
Do you? Yeah.
Fantastic chicken.
Yeah. So they also do our wings. They do all of our chicken products. So this is it's a farm fresh tender, and they're a little bit bigger than what you would have at your other places, but and then we use a comeback sauce with it. So
you can taste the difference when you order from a place like Harrison's.
I think so too.
Yeah, they're great. They're on Milwaukee or Waukegan?
Is it Clint? No, it's Waukegan Road, right?
Yeah, I love it there.
Road. And close to like Waukegan and Glenview Road, not too far.
Oh yeah, the comeback sauce.
How about it?
I mean, come on.
Fantastic.
A little bit of heat in the comeback sauce.
Yeah, there's a little zip into it.
I'm digging it. Well, let's talk a little bit about the album.
Okay.
I mean, I have you here, Chris. How could I not? First ever jazz release on Pravda. Pravda has been around for 40 years. I got to introduce you at the 40th anniversary
I remember that
show. That feels pretty cool, doesn't it? I mean, to be the
cool.
first.
Cool for just a number of reasons. I mean, Ken is
Ken Goodman, the owner.
Ken Goodman, my man. Ken. Shout out to Ken Goodman. Shout out to Melissa Thornley. Just good people, really good people. I had no reason to think that I was ever on their radar. It's funny. Like, I've done a number of gigs with people on the label over the past like decade. Like, I've done several gigs with Steve Dawson, several gigs with Nora O'Connor. I've done a few things with Dak Julin, subbed in with Poi Doc Pondering. Just done a number of and I've recorded on Steve Dawson's last album, and just I had no reason, and good friends with Chloe and Brad of the Handcuffs, and just I never had any reason to think like I would be on their radar. So one day, I am playing a little side project gig with Brad. He's got this little side project gig. We're just kind of doing like spontaneous improvisatory rock jazz stuff. It's super cool. We were playing at the on the Riverwalk last summer, and up walks this dude with a pork pie hat and shakes my hand, say, "Hey man, how you doing, Rick? I really like what you're doing. Thank you." And I figured he was just like a music fan. I don't want to say I brushed him off, but it was kind of like, "Hey, thanks, man. I'm gonna go over here to the bar and get a beer. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Ken." You said, "Ken, nice to meet you, man." So I walk away. So Chloe's like, "Hey, come here for a second. Did you talk to my friend Ken?" He's like, "Yeah, he seems like a nice guy. Like, go back and talk to him because I think he's interested in you." I was like, "What do you mean?" "Well, the label that I'm on, Pravda, he's interested in you." I was like, "Yeah, but they don't really do jazz." I was like, "I know. Get your ass over there and talk to him right now." Oh, shit. So, "Hey, Ken, how you doing, man? The idiot that blew you off, how you doing?" He was super cool about it. He was like, "Hey, I really, truth is, I've been following you for a while. I like what you're doing." Pulls out his business card and, "Hey, if you ever want to do something, like when you put out your next album, you need some help, let me know." And so I went home and kind of did the deep dive, and there were all these names of people that I've played with over the years. And turns out they'd all told Ken about me, and you need to work with this guy. And we met a couple weeks later for tacos, and we kind of hammered out the details, and yada yada. Here we are.
The album is Conversance. It starts with Gentleman's Breakfast.
Yes.
Which is kind of a samba vibe.
Yes.
And does the percussion define whether or not something is samba?
I think that's a good question. I've listened to enough Brazilian stuff I could probably show you musically, but I think it's a vibe between the percussion, the drums, and the bass, and something that what piano does, what's called a montuno, which is kind of like a rhythmic. It's kind of its own rhythmic contribution to the proceeding. So it's kind of like a stew, if you will, that ends up making a kind of samba feel.
We mentioned Miles as an entry point to jazz. I think for a lot of people, myself included, you just need that right entry point. I think everyone wants an entry point to jazz, but it feels, if you didn't grow up with it, it feels overwhelming to figure out where to jump in. I think this is a good album for people to jump in with. It's a good.
I like to. You know what? I appreciate that, and we've worked really as a band. We have constant conversations about this and what you're talking about. And what I credit Pravda for is like our thing has always been we want to play for people. Like we want to play for the person that has 5,000 jazz albums or none. It's like and it's like if you don't play for the people who don't have any jazz albums at home, how are you going to expose people to it?
Exactly.
So I credit Pravda for obviously taking a chance on us, but it's like we like to play in front of people. Like we play jazz clubs, but we also like to play at Fitzgerald's. We'll play at Prairie Moon. We like to play where the people are.
Yes.
Because the people my favorite kind of audience member a lot of times are like the people who have seen us, and then they'll drag their friends like, "You got to see this band," and they are convinced that they're like, "I hate jazz. Please don't take me to see," like, "You got to see this band," and they'll come see us, and they'll end up being the ones that buy all of our merch. So
my favorite song on the album is a song called Thumper. About halfway through the song, it's like all four of you got permission to just go fucking crazy.
Marc, our bass player, he writes two distinctly kinds of songs. One where these really beautiful lyrical the evocative melodies, and then the other kind like thumper, where just all hell breaks loose.
It does,
and we just go crazy. And that's where he loves. He's a big Frank Zappa fan and King Crimson.
There it is.
And all that stuff.
There it is.
So he's got that beautiful lyrical side, but he's also got this like let's tear shit up side, and that's where thumper comes from.
I love the keys on The Emperor Strikes Back.
Yes, that is my son, my 13-year-old son, wrote the melody of that song.
Get out of here.
Yes, he wrote the so my son is he's a very quite brilliant musician. I'm going to go on record as saying he's even more talented than me. But he is, he's typical 13. Hey, you should do this. You should do it. Nah, whatever. He's like anything I say is like, it's I'm just dad. But he plays piano very well, and he's a percussionist in the school band. He came up with the melody for the song. He's playing on the piano. I was like, hey, it's a real cool melody. So every time I would sit at the piano, he would walk in, and I would like, hey, Alex, check out this melody I came up with. And I would play the melody back at him, and I would say like, I'm gonna write a song with this and make a bunch of money, and you're not gonna see any of it. And I would just kind of play it. And then one day the creative fairies show up and like, oh wow, okay, the chords would work with this song with the melody, and here's a bridge to the song, and blah blah blah. And so then the song comes out. And I'm like, well, you know what? This song wouldn't exist if he didn't have that melody. So I did the right thing. He is a credited member of ASCAP, and he is
brilliant.
He is listed as a writer on the song. So every time I have to remind him, hey, how many 13-year-olds that have writing credits on a song on an album released by the longest running indie label in the city of Chicago? And he's like, yeah, that's cool. And
of course, 13-year-olds. But as a dad, I mean, how cool is that?
It's super cool. It's super cool. And I'm like, that song wouldn't exist if he hadn't played that melody in front of me. So I love that.
I love that you included "Just Squeeze Me," Duke Ellington song, because I think this song is all like swing and swagger. Mm-hmm. It's got that kind of cockiness to it.
It's a great song. That one of those like Duke has written so many wonderful songs that it's easy to we get so wrapped up on the Take the A Trains and
which is great,
Satin Dolls, which are all wonderful songs, but he wrote a bunch of songs that a lot of people just don't play, and that was just one of those things where like we like to take songs that people may know or less familiar songs, but how do we make a song that was written in the 30s or 40s? How do we make that applicable to us right now? Like how do we make that our song? And so we tinkered around with a few things, and we ended up choosing kind of like a old-timey gospel-y backbeat kind of thing. So
I love it. And as we're talking, we haven't forgotten about you, by the way, in the backseat. Let's eat more chicken.
It's absolutely.
It's the sauce.
By the way, speaking of Duke Ellington, have you ever listened to the soundtrack of Anatomy of a Murder?
Oh my God,
that's unbelievable.
That song, the soundtrack is so good you forget there's a movie going on.
Exactly right.
It's a great soundtrack.
Yeah, it is.
I'm glad you guys are talking about that. I love listening. This is something that came to me late in life. I love listening to movie scores, like good ones. Especially, I do a lot of work from home, and when I work from home, I love having scores on in the background, especially good ones. Lyrics kind of take me out of what I'm focusing on, but a good score just pushes me through.
Absolutely.
So that's a great tip.
It's a fantastic. I mean, the movie's great. The score is great, but the score is almost too busy for the movie. But it can definitely be appreciated on its own. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely can be appreciated on its own.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the players, the members of the quartet.
Well,
I mean, you surround yourself with good people.
I'm a very lucky man. There you go. Talk about Marc Piane, who wrote Thumper and Inspiration on the album. He's my longest musical associate. I've known him.
Wait, is today his birthday?
Today is his birthday. He joins the 50 Club today.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Mark. So he's my longest musical associate. I've been playing in bands with him probably the longest. I kind of hit the scene, or at least like around 1994, and I met him in like '96, and I think he had just graduated from college. So we were playing. We met. It was a long defunct band called Dag Nabbit, run by a friend of mine who at the time was the house engineer at the Beat Kitchen.
Okay.
And it was this weird band of like it was like part jazz, part punk. It was just really and these really way out lyrics, and it was a lot of fun, but we really couldn't play any other place other than the Beat Kitchen just because we were so damn weird. But it was a lot of fun. It was a whole lot of fun. But Marc was the bass player in that band for a time, and so we met, and like he'd hire me for things, I'd hire him for things, and so I had another band going on, a more kind of electric funk jazz thing going on at the time. But then I think I kind of made the shift to I wanted to start an acoustic quartet at the time. Around like 2005, and so I knew when I started that band, he was the first guy that I immediately thought of for bass. Damian Espinosa is on piano. I've been in bands with, or we've worked together as musical partners probably the longest of anybody in town. He is from New Mexico, and he got to town in 2001. And we met. I meet these guys in weird situations. So I met him, Damian. There was a young lady by the name of Sydney. We used to play at the Old Velvet Lounge, and her thing was she played clarinet. She wasn't a great clarinet player, but she had a thing. Mm-hmm. But her main thing was this really erotic spoken word poetry. And so the rest of us were just kind of like vamping and playing like beats and stuff behind her. And so she would talk about like, just like, and I've got a pretty open mind and pretty dark sense of humor about things, but I was like, what did you want to do what? With who? And how many people you want to, wait, what? And I almost dropped my saxophone a couple times. Like, what, huh? But, and so like, I knew like, and I met Damian, and I really liked what he was doing, and I had another keyboard player at the time, but that didn't work out, so I immediately called Damian, and it's just like we ended up like playing together. He's my favorite kind of musician, and they all are this way, but Damian especially. Like he's a harmonic genius on the piano, but he listens to you soloists play better than anybody I've ever played with. So he has that thing where like he'll do something, and then you're playing something, and he has this way of telling you, like, you've already played that, so you've got about 3 seconds to come up with something new. So you better do it right now. And so he forces you to level up in the moment.
I love that.
So, and that same thing can be said about Steve. So Steve, I always tease him.
Steve
Corley, our drummer. The band's been around since 2005. Steve joined in 2011. And I promised him that I would stop calling him the new guy. And so I'm officially, Steve, if you're listening, this is the last time I will ever call you the new guy. I promise. So
it's on the permanent record.
It is on the permanent record. I will never call you the new guy again. So, but he joined, and it just like we had a drummer, but Steve subbed in a couple times, and every time he subbed in, we basically, me, Marc, and Damian were like, we need to have that happen all the time. That he's awesome. We got to figure out how to. So we got him in the band, and just everything has been wonderful. It's just he comes like he's the most musical drummer I've ever played with. Just like can do anything, any style, any feel. I can give him the most cryptic of instructions for whatever song we're working on, and he'll just take that idea and just run with it. So I'm just a really lucky guy to be working with these guys. Really lucky guy.
Well, and it's your name on the band, but it is a unit.
Absolutely. Like, there's nothing I can tell these guys about how to play their respective instruments. There's nothing I can tell Steve about how to play drums, or Marc how to play bass. I can only be like, this is what I like to hear, or this is what I had in mind when I wrote this song. This is what I wrote, but how, this is what I wrote for you to play. Now, how would you approach that? And it usually ends up, and a lot of times, like even with like chords, I'll give Damian for the piano. Like sometimes the chords that I write or the choices I make might not be the best one, or he might have a better way of voicing the chords. And so you hire these guys to execute your vision, but you don't want to put you don't want to straitjacket them. You don't want to,
Right.
You want to handcuff them. You got to give them, it's like back to Duke Ellington. It's like you hire the people that you love and you write for them, and then you let them put their personalities in the music, and then it becomes a four-way conversation. And I think the people who come to see us, who even the ones that don't necessarily like jazz, we're not just starting and stopping songs at the same time. We're actually conversing on stage, and people actually thankfully get into that. So,
And there it is. It's Conversance. It all comes together now.
Yes, sir.
It all makes sense. That is the new album, excuse me, from Chris Greene Quartet, Conversance. It's on Pravda. It is the first ever jazz release on Pravda. It's an awesome entry point. If you're a longtime jazz fan, you're going to love this. If you are dipping your toe into the jazz water, what a great way to jump in. I love it.
thank you.
Rob is in the back seat from Prairie Moon, Evanston, 1635 Chicago Avenue. So much goodness on this menu. I mean, things we didn't even get to. They have chicken and andouille gumbo, which, I mean, come on. And an etouffee as well, right?
Yeah, the etouffees, and these are some of the dishes that we've been working on forever. But I'm going to second your lucky guy real quickly here. I'm going to say I got the same kind of feel in my kitchen, and I've got 3 guys down there tonight. One of which was started with me in 1985. Been working with him for that long.
That's amazing. I mean, in a world, I mean, the restaurant industry is all about turnover.
Absolutely.
To be able to retain people and have that kind of relationship for years, let alone decades.
They've been with you that long?
Well,
Really?
one has, and then another about the same,
wow.
and then another came on. I think probably in 2002. The new guy.
The new guy.
New guy.
And so, I mean, I hear what you're saying. It's like this. Like when I come with an idea, we change our menu every day. We try new things every week. We take people on a culinary road trip around the United States. We do all sorts of stuff. Our dinners for two are one of our kind of a culinary outlet for us. So when I put together a menu for it, I'll just go over and I'll just talk to the guys about it, and it happens. It's like this connection, A lot like, you laying down a lick and someone picking you up and the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's just that team. It's just that quartet. It's just that unit that makes it all happen. And I have some of the most talented. I'm one of the most lucky individuals. I have not just back at the house, front of the house too, but I got to give a shout out to my kitchen. I think they have and to get through the pandemic the way they did, I just can't say enough about it.
Before we started recording, I said to Chris, and I've said this before on the podcast, there is so much similarity to me between being an independent musician and being an independent restaurateur. I think the hustle's the same, the community building the same, and what you just described, I mean, the way you build your band, whether it's a band of people in the kitchen or a band of players, I mean, it's uncanny how much crossover there is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when he said that, it struck me right away. I was like, of course, yeah, that's it. I'm a lucky guy.
Yeah, it's a team. It's like, it's not one person. It's a team.
Absolutely.
I love it. Okay, so Conversance, easy for me to say, is the new album. It's awesome. The food here at Prairie Moon is great. Come for the food, stay for the vibe. What a comfortable, warm, inviting place this is right here. This is Davis right here?
No, that one's Church.
Yeah, Church in Chicago. I was confused. Since I was a kid, I confused Davis and Church.
Church heads to the lake, and then Davis heads away.
That's it. But yeah, fantastic place in Evanston, not far from the lake, not far from Northwestern, right in the middle of everything. Wonderful food, wonderful hospitality. I loved being able to bring you two together tonight. This was super fun.
Oh, it was great.
Thank
I can't wait to hear you play live again, Chris. That's going to be good.
Okay, absolutely.
Oh, I guess before we sign off,
to talk about.
this will release first week of November. Any dates we can talk about?
Yeah, first, okay, perfect. We're having our second release party at our western suburban home base at Fitzgerald's on Thursday, November 7th.
perfect. After the election, regardless of the outcome, we're going to want
Yes, you're gonna
to celebrate, commiserate.
Celebrate, exactly. Drown your
Let's
sorrows. Yeah, celebrate or drown your sorrows with some good music. Exactly.
That's perfectly timed.
Yes.
And what a great place that is.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've been doing the second Wednesday of every month in the either the sidebar or the patio, but we knew that we wanted to do a release party there, and so they were nice enough to move. So normally we play on the sidebar or the patio, but we're actually going to be playing in the main stage on the 7th. So come on out, and it should be a good time.
I totally want to come out for that. All right, awesome. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. This was a lot of fun.
And if you're watching or listening, thank you for watching or listening. This is Car Con Carne.